The Colorado theater shooting had been seeing a psychiatrist before last week's rampage. We know this because lawyers for James Holmes have asked authorities for a package he sent to this woman, Dr. Lynn Fenton. She's a psychiatrist at the University of Colorado and director of student mental health services. Now, CBS News reports the package included a description of how Holmes was planning to kill people, and defense attorneys argue it should be protected under doctor-patient privilege. Psychologist Eric Fisher is joining us in studio this morning to talk about this. We're hoping to learn more, obviously, about what was in this notebook, in this package, and we certainly don't want to speculate about how much this psychiatrist, this Dr. Fenton, might have known about James Holmes. But I'm curious what you say about the limits of confidentiality. I mean, when do you have to disclose? When does patient-doctor privilege no longer apply?
Well, there were certain laws that were passed back in the 70s that basically had to do with when a patient states a clear and imminent danger to a specific person, then we have an obligation to either warn that person, warn family members, people who might be related to them, and also the authorities. So the issue with this and what comes up is, how are we compromising our relationship with that client that they might withhold information from us because they know what we have to do, but some therapists also sometimes don't know what to do in those situations because they don't want to compromise that therapist relationship because they feel they might be able to do something to help them before something happens, but it's not our call to make. There's legal issues and ethical issues we have to follow with that.
Right, and isn't there, I mean, it must be hard to tell if you're talking with someone, I'm not saying you've ever been in this situation, but to sort of differentiate between a warning sign and an actual comment that they're going to, a direct threat that they're going to kill someone.
Right. Depending on the length of that relationship, that's going to affect how much we may know to report or not. If it's a new client or patient and we don't have much history or experience with them to know when they're serious or not, we might be more likely to move ahead and make a statement. However, if we're also building a relationship in the beginning, we weigh that. So there's a lot of things we have to weigh. Their impulse control. Do they have access to the means that they wish to cause harm to the person? Do they drink or use drugs? That's going to increase impulsivity. What's their history of violence? All these are things that we have to take into account, as well as our clinical judgment. But clinical judgment alone often isn't the best judgment of violence. We also have to use some actuarial measures in looking at it.
And how much are you legally required to reveal?
We can, because of the HIPAA laws, which are the laws that protect information, private patient information, are important to consider here, as well as the legal issues, because we have to look at how much we can report, which is really only specific to that event. We can't report the person's life history or things. We want to stay specific to what the exact event is, who the people are that may be harmed, and that's about it, unless as something evolves they may request more information.
You talked a little bit about the process, but do you think that most therapists understand what's at stake here in a case like this?
They do. I think it's something that I've faced at times that I weigh back and forth, and it feels very scary. You know, us as therapists, sometimes we're put up on that pedestal. But we're also human, and we also have our issues of really evaluating our own skill set and what our clients' potentials are, our patients' potentials are. Consultation is key here, and making sure we talk to colleagues and get people's opinion who are outside of the information, outside of the situation. It's very important.
So do you think that this would make somebody, take a step back and say, well, maybe I'm not going to share so much with my therapist if in the end, they can share it in court, they can share it with police?
Absolutely, and that is one of the key situations. There was some research that actually looked at, does a duty to warn increase a chance or risk of violence or homicides in a community? And the result was yes, because sometimes there's the client who doesn't want to report things that they know might get them in trouble, but there's also the therapist who may not want to know, so he might not push to gain that information. And those two factors are really key in really helping to prevent violence. So in some ways, therapists feel like they have their hands tied because they may compromise the long-term stability of that therapist-client relationship on the way to really helping them resolve issues that may lead to violence.
Yeah, it's going to be so interesting to hear what comes out of this and that notebook and what might have been said.
Absolutely. I feel for the psychiatrist.
I'm sure
it's a really difficult situation.
I was going to say she's in a very tough position. Dr. E, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Nice to see you. Now to London, where the